everyone. So from last evening until now, we've had a number of questions and that you've kindly given to Brother Ketan, and we have collated and then compiled all these questions. So, brother, let's start.
Yes. Can we have, maybe we can start with switching on the lights.
Switching on the lights, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
The inner light and the outer light. In fact, yesterday when brother was talking about, the fire alarms and things like that,
Yes.
my mind went back to Antara Jyoti Jalao Sai. We are so scared of the fire outside. Swami just wants a little lamp in our hearts.
Yes. I think you've probably answered all the questions from this now.
So that's it. Let's break for lunch now.
For the sake of everyone's benefit, we will go one by one. Swami says the body is temporary. What is the importance of aspects like culture, religion, and society?
So when we talk about I think this is a pretty spiritual and technical question. So let's try to take it as simply as possible. The only two instruments that we have with which we can work or function in this world is the body and the mind, right? So the body-mind is a single complex. It is not like the body is different, the mind is different, right? It's just a body-mind complex. It's basically, if one were to look at today's terminology, it would be hardware and software. A phone without the operating system is useless. Operating system cannot work without the hardware. So the body and the mind is nothing but whatever gadgets that we have, including the one you're having in your hand, which has an operating system, and you have the physical phone. Similarly, the body and the mind is nothing but the hardware and the software. Now, why Swami is saying that? Remember that the phone will keep changing. You have a new iPhone in town, right? So you will throw away the old iPhone and you will get the new iPhone. Same thing happens with the body and the mind. In fact, you have an upgrade, right? Every year you will have an upgrade, right? So a new version of the operating system will come, right? And similarly, the mind is also upgrading every now and then, right? We have the way, just imagine all of us sitting over here. Do you have the thoughts that you had when you were 15 years old? No, we upgraded. Hopefully we have not downgraded, right? So we are constantly upgrading. What culture and tradition and religion does is simply to train this upgradation. Hopefully to give it a direction, right? Without a direction, we will be probably more like an open AI.
Open AI, yes.
Right? Where nothing is regulated. So imagine in an unregulated world, what can happen to the mind? So I think what culture and religion and society does is basically, just to give you another example, all of you have seen an elephant?
Of course.
Sure, yes. You see, the elephant is the most powerful beast in the world. If the elephant decides, I am going to go in this direction, there's no force on earth that can stop that elephant from going in that direction. Yeah?
Yes.
And yet, we see in most of these circuses and, even in these elephant, what have you, like zoos, right? And these sanctuaries and reserves, there will be a tiny, skinny man, okay, with a small little, thing in his hand, and he will be controlling the entire elephant with just that. And you'll wonder, like, usually you will think that to control such a big beast, you need like a wrestler with 5 packs and, his triceps and biceps and all done. But that guy will be a really skinny fellow. Correct? I'm sure without fail, usually the guy who is in charge of the elephant will be the skinniest guy in town. How does the elephant listen to such a tiny mahout? Because you see, the elephant understands only one language. What is the language? The language of practice. Okay? The mahout, the only thing that the mahout has to do to the elephant is, hey, listen to me. I will tell you what you're supposed to do. And that is why even when the elephant is going through through the forest, and even if it sees bananas on one side, if the mahot says we are going to go this side, the entire elephant turns and walks. Because it is trained to listen to the mahot. Same thing with us. What culture, what religion does is to train this elephant called the mind. Our body mind is like an elephant. It's supremely powerful. Okay? The only thing that it is going to understand is training. Practice, practice, practice. Right? I'm tempted to give one last example.
Sure.
How many times do we make New Year resolutions? Every year.
Every year.
Okay, and usually what do? The resolution we take on 31st?
Copy paste from previous year.
Copy paste. And what would typically that be? If not from previous year, from some other person's, hey, I like that resolution, man. Let me take it, copy paste, right? Yeah. Typically 2 resolutions, right? We start off we're hoping to start fitness and getting up early.
Yes.
How many of you agree?
Yeah.
Right? It's needless to say. Right? Usually I was, next year I'm going to eat something healthy. Right? Usually that is one of our resolution. Or the other resolution is, I have to wake up early. Okay, Swami has told, I have heard about the Brahma Muhurtam. Okay, let me at least see what it looks like. I've only so far heard about the Brahma Muhurtam. Yeah. Right? Now what happens, there's an intense negotiation inside, and the intellect says, brother, you have to get up. Okay, so we put alarms at 4:30, okay, in the morning. And first of all, on 1st of January, we never follow that. Why? Because on 31st, our bhajans would have ended at 12. Yes. Okay, and so immediately the mind tells, see, brother, don't worry, see, you're doing bhajans up to 12 o'clock. How you can get up at 4:30?
Correct only, no?
Correct.
Valid
only.
Question.
Very, very. So, we train, don't worry, brother. You were doing bhajans, great spiritual work you were doing. So it's okay. 1st January, don't follow. Correct. From 2nd January, I will follow. On 2nd January, at 4:30 in the morning, the alarm rings. Okay? And today, we have the funniest button that we have on the phone, the snooze button. Right? Okay, and the finger straight goes and snooze. Okay, and what happens inside our mind at that time is, the body and the mind, the elephant of the body and the mind tells, you never asked me. You took the decision to get up. Correct. If you want, you get up. I am not going to get up. The body simply says, I am not getting up. If you want, you get up. Because you see, the intellect took the decision, but it did not take the mind and the body together with it. What religion, culture, and society does is it helps us to get that. What a Sathya Sai organization does to us is to help us get into that. Right? It will make you the bhajan coordinator and say, first you come in time.
Correct.
Right?
100%.
So
Yes. Very good. Thank you so much.
Now, usually, if you like the answer,
Clap.
Don't clap. You know why? Because Swami would often say that clapping was done so that we can shoo away the thoughts of the birds of our thoughts. Right? That is why we clap during bhajans. Right? So now when you clap, I feel you're just shooing away these thoughts also.
Sir, at least at the end of the session, they can clap, no?
If you want to completely forget and start afresh tomorrow.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Once we realize that we are God, is there really a need to do rituals like lighting lamps, doing puja, etc.?
So the first thing is you should be asking God that question. Correct, no? But yeah, it's a very deep question in the sense, what happens after self-realization? Basically, once you realize you're God means you have moved to a position after self-realization. Yes. What does life after self-realization look like?
I don't know.
Right? That's the question that has been asked.
Yes.
Correct? I also don't know. However, we have enough and more examples in our life to tell us what that life looks like. For example, the life of our Bhagwan. Right? He is the personification of all of self-realization. that can ever give us. You see, living with masters, living with saints, living with self-realized souls gives us a sneak peek into what the life beyond self-realization looks like. And you will be surprised to know it is pretty much the same. You see, Sathya Sai, as we were mentioning yesterday evening, he did not require bhajans. He is self-realized. Self-realized in the sense, you cannot even call him self-realized because he is the source of all self-realization. He is the granting authority for self-realization. And yet, he attended bhajans. And he did the pujas. And he came for darshan. And he started institutions. And he did seva. And he started the balvikas. Right? Why would someone who knows that we are all one, right? So there are two types of self-realized souls. There are those self-realized souls who the moment they get self-realization, it is said, they don't live more than 21 days. Because they don't identify with the body. Realized master. And in gospel, for those of you who have read the gospel, it is written that one day it was paining so much, and so he asked mother, Mother, please do something about Bhavatarani, the master, the goddess who is there in Dakshineshwar temple. So he says, Mother, just help me with this. I am not able to eat. And you know what mother tells him? Why are you bothered about eating? Aren't you eating from all the other mouths in the world? You see, complete lack of body consciousness. Therefore, many times it so happens for self-realized souls is that they don't live beyond 21 days because the body just sheds away. Okay? But then there are those self-realized souls who stay back for Loka Kalyanam. That is for the welfare of the world. Because now their life is not about themselves. Every second of their life is only for Loka Kalyanam. Right? And they will do everything that is important for Loka Kalyanam. So they will say, I don't need bhajans, but I will attend bhajans because I have to show you why it is important to attend bhajans. They will do seva, they will start institutions, schools and colleges, and everything of that will be done, but only as an example for the rest of mankind, not for themselves.
Sairam. Next question. Bhagwan says to be happy all the time. How realistic is this? How do we do it?
I think these are all highly esoteric questions. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that question because I'm not happy all the time. But however, as we were discussing yesterday, is constant contemplation on the Leelas of the Lord which make you happy is definitely something as a source of happiness. And I think to that extent, empowering yourself to remain happy in all circumstances, right? Not depending upon the world to make you happy. Unfortunately, we trust the world too much, right? Swami in his discourses, I like this. Swami would say, this world is like a gated community. Okay, these are my words. Okay, Swami didn't use the word gated community. But this world is like a large apartment building or a great gated community. Okay? And the name of this community is Anityam Asukham Loke Apartments. Okay, what is it? Anityam Asukham Loke. Anityam means not permanent. Asukham means fundamentally sorrowful. Asukham means dukham. Okay, so where are we now, right now? We are in this gated community called Anityam Asukham Loke Apartments. And what are we trying to do? We are searching for Nityam and Sukham in this Anityam Asukham Loke. Can we ever find it? Impossible, because this is not the place we are supposed to find that. So as long as we keep searching for Anityam, Nitya Sukha, okay, in this Anityam Asukham, we will never find it. So the only way that we can be happy always is to search in the place where we can get that. And that is, Swami says, is within us. As long as our vision is outward, right, we will never be able to find it. That is why one of the fundamental things about sadhana, right? And this is for all the youngsters out there. One of the fundamental things about sadhana is to turn your gaze inward. That's all. Even scientists have tremendous amount of concentration. Sportsmen have tremendous amount of concentration.
Yes.
So, for example, if you listen to people like, the top sportsmen in their area, when they speak, you will feel that, whoa, this guy is a yogi. Like I was once listening to Sachin Tendulkar, and he was saying he was training a bunch of cricketers in a training camp, and he was saying, at the peak of your concentration, when you are at the peak of your concentration, you will not even know whether the bowler is bowling around the wicket or over the wicket. Because at that time, at that stage, only the ball exists and everything else kind of disappears and your subconscious mind plays the shot. I was reading that, I was like, my God, this is like samadhi. This is exactly what happens in meditation where only the ball exists. Like in Mahabharata, Arjuna's and the eye.
Yeah.
So you see, concentration, ekagrata that we were discussing yesterday, that happens even in day-to-day life. There are politicians, there are scientists, there are sportsmen, there are business people who can get that. What is the difference between them and a spiritual sadhaka? The only difference is where the vision is directed.
Yes.
Okay, that is why it is called bahirmukhata and antarmukhata. That is training or moving your gaze from the outward to the inward. That is the only difference, I would say, is the source of happiness.
Thank you so much.
Can we have some easier questions? This must be putting people to sleep, actually. Yeah? Is it putting you to sleep? No? Oh my God.
Shall we talk about cricket then?
Oh yes. I don't know whether the sisters will enjoy it or not.
No. Okay, I hope this is an easier one. But none of these questions are easier. They are practically, we get these questions day in and day out, or more often than, So it's better we just touch upon these things. Yeah. Even some of the easier questions we feel are not probably easy. Okay. So you touched upon the Bal Vikas children for youngsters. Question around that. It is easy for Bal Vikas children and young adults to drift away from Swami's teachings. How can we motivate them to remain connected? How do we deal with each parent having a different path?
I think when we say it's easy for Bal Vikas children and youth to be distracted from the science path, I think it's easy for every one of us to be distracted.
Exactly.
Let's not single out the Bal Vikas children and young adults. All of us are distracted. That is our problem. All of our problem is that anekagrata. We are distracted. We are constantly. But I think the only way that we can motivate the youth and the Bal Vikas children to remain on the path is by being practitioners ourselves. Any amount of talks like these, any amount of, jingoism or, standing at the stage and talking about big concepts of Upanishads doesn't help until we start living each and every one of those messages. So I think the big onus, the big responsibility on us is to live the message that we seek to spread. And we have none other than Swami who lived that message. And that is what I was, earlier also we were discussing. We don't have to go too far. Because I think what makes our organization extremely unique is our founder. The founder of this organization was there when the organization was established. No other organization in the world had their founder. For example, the Ramakrishna Mission. The Ramakrishna Mission was never founded when Ramakrishna was there. In fact, it is said Swami Vivekananda did not live to see the completion of the Belur Math temple. He passed away before that. It was, of course, the giants that Swami Brahmananda and the rest of the disciples were, right? So look at Guru Nanak Ji. Look at Jesus Christ. Christianity was not founded by Jesus Christ, right? In fact, the New Testament was written 200 years after Jesus Christ left. 200 years by Saint Augustine and the King Constantine. They came together and they wrote the New Testament. 200 years. Imagine the amount of transmission loss that must have happened in 200 years.
Yeah.
Right? So we are lucky that we have Bhagwan himself who has lived his life. Much of his life is very well documented. We have people who have lived with him, right, who have seen different aspects, and that is why these satsangs help so much, because they give us a sneak peek into the life of a master, how he lived, right? So I think when we have a living example that he was, it makes, I think, our life that much easier to practice those teachings in our life. And so I think the only way that we can motivate the Balvikas and our youth is by living the message.
Living the message. Lovely message that is. Next question. How do you get to a stage where you have die mind, i.e. enlightenment, no mind, just your real self?
I think this Brother Tony also can, because when Swami gave him the diamond ring, right, he was mentioning yesterday, Swami said, die mind, right? Yeah, so I guess that is that's where this question is coming from. How do you get to die mind, is it?
Yeah. Yes.
Unfortunately, the person with the mind cannot talk about it. Because you have to go beyond the mind to answer a question about die mind, right? But how do you get to die mind?
How do you get to a stage where you have die mind?
Yes. So Swami talks about this in many discourses. He calls it the amanaskam. We have a manas, right? Amanas means no mind. Okay, so die mind is nothing but no mind. So what does this mean? So very simply to put it, let me try and picture, all of you kind of picture this in front of your eyes, okay? So let me try. I wish I had maybe a whiteboard that would have been easier to explain this concept. There is a large tank of water. And this is Swami's analogy, not mine.
Okay.
So there's a large tank of water and it is filled with water. There is an inlet pipe, which is constantly, there are two pipes. Okay, both the pipes are inlet pipes, and there is one outlet pipe. Now the problem with the outlet pipe is that in the outlet pipe there are two hoses. One of the hoses is connected to your inlet pipe. You got the analogy, right? All of you are okay with it, right? Tank, inlet, outlet. One of the outlets is connected to the inlet. Okay, this is our mind. Okay. All our past vasanas and vrittis, and don't think, oh, again some Sanskrit terms. Basically, vasanas simply means impressions. Impressions, that have accumulated over many, many lifetimes, including this lifetime. They are all impressions which are in the form of the water in the tank. Is that understood? Is that clear? So now, what is the water that is going to come out? Whatever is there inside. Okay? So now there are two things we need to do to clear up this tank. Means first of all, there's dirty water inside, right? And so therefore there are only dirty outlet. Whatever is coming out of the outlet is dirty, right? So the first thing to do is to clean up this. How to clean up? Just think about it. There are two ways to clean up. What would be the two ways?
Empty the water and add new water to it, no?
So, more than just emptying the water, just keep adding new water.
Okay.
Enough?
Yes.
Right? If you keep adding new water to this tank, eventually all the bad water will go out and there will be clean water. All of whatever we do in our sadhana is nothing but that. See, bhajans is clean water. Okay? Yoga, meditation, Sai literature reading, seva, all of that is good water which is going in. And it is cleaning up the tank. Okay? So, now the problem is, many times you will notice, and we find this in our own, in spite of me doing, me being in bhajans for so long, only dirty water is coming out. It's because I'm not doing the bhajan in the pure way. So you remember I told you there was a connection between the outlet to the inlet? But because when I sit in bhajans, I'm jealous. How come this guy gets to always sing the second bhajan? I never get. What is happening? Inlet. So I'm doing bhajans on one side, But the inlet that is coming in is dirty water only because it's jealousy and hatred and anger, right? And so constantly I'm not allowing that tank to ever clean up, right? However, there is I told you there are two inlets.
Yes.
One is connected to this. One is from fresh water or outside water. Outside water is all the other inputs that we are taking. Okay, I think today, one of the big challenges we have is we have so much input right at the palm of our hands, right? Through our phone, we are constantly input,
Yes.
right? Social media, Twitter, especially Twitter, I would say, what they call is the global town hall.
Yes.
It's the global town hall, right? Everybody can say anything they want. And actually, you know what? They say that only 2% of the people on Twitter actually create content. Every 98% are only absorbing content. Okay? So my job is basically just put out something over there and people will absorb it. That is an input. Right? And so I'm never, in spite of all the so-called sadhana that I'm doing, my tank is never getting cleaned up. Right? So there are two things. One is stop the bad water from coming in.
Yes.
And the output that is going into my input, clear up that also. Once I'm able to do that, slowly but surely, so then people will say, oh my God, you're telling me to do so much. Every day I have to stop every thought coming in, every word coming in, every deed that I'm doing. There is no good, like this is an Herculean task.
Yeah.
People will much rather say, you know what, whatever tap, water, whatever is there, let it be there. Right? However, you see the beauty is, as clean water, only in the initial part of our sadhana, we have to put in that much effort. Once clean water starts to go in, only clean water will start coming out. After that, no effort needs to be put. So, all of our sadhana is only in that beginning period, yes, we have to put in some effort. After some time, it's only clean. Now, that is still not die mind. That is still good mind. That is still not no mind. That is still good mind. From here now comes the next part. Once the pure water is there, slowly, you know what happens? We don't feel the need for water at all. And slowly the water in the tank itself starts disappearing. Once that water disappears, becomes no mind. And at such point of time, I completely identify myself with my true self, my Atman. And that is the stage of die mind or no mind. That would be my highly simplified an attempt to answer a question like that. Brother would like to add something to it? Okay.
Well, you asked him, but there is a specific question for Brother Anthony, unfortunately. You mentioned yesterday about how you had anxiety and it got quite bad. A good friend of mine has anxiety and is struggling with it. He is a Christian and a regular churchgoer and very active. Do you have any advice from your experience I could share with him? I feel the spiritual angle will really help him, but I don't know what to say.
Sairam.
Sairam.
Well, I'm not very much into improvising, so you have to excuse me because I prepared my answer, okay? I wrote it down. So, well, if he's a religious person, sometimes a period of anxiety during the spiritual path is unavoidable. Because there's going to be some spiritual transformation in place. In Spain, we have Saint John of the Cross, who was a 16th century mystic. And he referred to those periods of very, very intense anxiety as the dark night of the soul in his poems. So we have some precedents that, people who don't consider themselves to be spiritual, they might get anxiety, of course. But sometimes during the spiritual path, these are necessary, okay? And I've seen in Sai literature also that they've been referred to as dark periods, where you cannot feel Swami, that suddenly that connection is broken up and, it creates a lot of pain and confusion. I don't want this answer to be too long, okay? So I will. Anxiety is two-pronged, has two parts. a physical and a spiritual or inner one. Physically, there's a brain chemistry imbalance because there's excess cortisol hormone. So my humble non-professional advice, I'll stress non-professional, would be to leave all stimulants first. Coffee, tea, and chocolate all together, at least during the critical part, you know. Try to avoid screens 2 or 3 hours before going to bed, as the blue light in them, it disrupts the secretion of melatonin in the brain, because the brain still thinks that there's daylight. So it's not producing enough melatonin in order to relax the body and, you know, step in some sleep. Also, taking magnesium supplements with ashwagandha can be helpful. As you may know, ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb, you know. If the person that is asking the question, I mean, that is suffering and going through that, if that person is getting panic attacks, it is very essential at the moment, at the worst moments, to watch the breath and the thought patterns carefully. You know, slow down, watch them. Because all the dizziness and reeling, it comes from excessive oxygen in the system. There's hyperventilation, and it's involuntary. But that can be fixed. It's just a matter of, you know, stopping and initially take exhalations twice as long as the intake. Yes. I mean, count them, measure them in any way, you know. Exhalations, you know, twice as long as the inhaling. Physical exercise also helps a lot, particularly weightlifting. It has been recommended, especially weightlifting. I did that, but nowadays, no. Since I got married, not that much. It shows, huh? Okay. If he wants to delve into that, I would recommend reading Dr. Jordan Peterson. I know if some of you know him. He's a Canadian psychologist who's wrote much about anxiety, you know. And he suffered it himself, so he's very knowledgeable, right? Regarding the other part, the mental or inner aspect, it's important to do two things. At least it helped me a lot. Constant remembrance of God in any way that feels dear to his heart. If he's Christian, you know, any prayer, any image, I mean, but try to make it like constant, like non-stop, like obsessive, because the mind is really accelerated. So, yes. I mean, there's that stream of uncontrolled thought. So you gotta, I mean, you gotta put it in a lot of effort, but it does work. Constant remembrance of the Lord. And repeating this mantra over your head. This too shall pass. Yes. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Okay. He should also try to think on the good times that are coming, because, I mean, there's nothing that lasts forever, at least not in the apartments. And in the 2004 discourse, Swami advised on focusing on patience to those people undergoing mental suffering. You know, there was a comparison with ants that are so patient. So patience is crucial. And when you have anxiety, I mean, patience is the thing that you're lacking the most. Okay? Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you so much, Brother Anthony. Thank you. So more practical, physical, and mental answers to that. Like coming back.
I'll just maybe add one incident very beautifully that Brother Anthony spoke about. So this happened to one of our professors who used to teach philosophy in our institute. I won't mention his name, but you will not believe what all hit him in 1 year. He lost his wife, he lost his 2 daughters, and then he lost his job from the institute in 1 year. In a matter of 1 year, he lost them, you know, at various points. You can imagine what a devastated, distraught soul he would have been, right? And he was telling us this, that in that utter moment of absolute dejection and darkness, when he was praying to Swami, Swami comes in his dream and tells, goldsmith, goldsmith, goldsmith. And so he wakes up in the morning and he's contemplating, what is the meaning of this goldsmith? Later that morning, he's just walking along in Chennai, he's walking along a footpath, and he happens to walk, beyond, in front of a goldsmith, gold shop. And so he just looks at it and he just walks into the gold shop Okay? And he goes up to the goldsmith and says, tell me something. Because he doesn't know from where that message is going to come. And the goldsmith is looking, what happened to this fellow? From where did he come?
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And so he said, what do you want to know? He said, no, just tell me something. Whatever comes to your mind, you tell me. And so the goldsmith says, this is such a bizarre kind of thing, right? For the goldsmith perspective. So the goldsmith says, okay, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll tell you how I make whatever I do. How I do whatever I do. And so the goldsmith started to explain to him the process of refinement of gold. Okay, and so he says, we get the gold ore first, and then we hammer it out. Okay, so that all the physical impurities that we can see with our eyes, we hammer it out of the ore. And eventually, when we cannot further, with our hands we cannot do it, or with our tools we cannot do it, then we take that gold ore and we throw it into fire. Okay, and we burn it to a particular centigrade. Because we don't want to burn off the gold. We have to burn it in a calibrated way. Okay, and so he's showing him this, and as this goldsmith is talking, right, this professor is getting his answers. That it is a very calibrated fire. Okay, and so eventually the professor asks, when do you know that the gold is completely refined? Okay, and here is the punchline. The goldsmith says, I know that the gold is completely refined when I can see my reflection in the gold. Right? So each of us will go through our level of calibrated fire because he's the goldsmith. He will take us through those moments of deep anxiety because he's preparing us for something much higher. And it will stop only when he can see his reflection in us.
Thank you, Brother Amey. Thank you. Okay, here's another question. Not sure if it is entirely to you, but how can we encourage more English bhajans?
You are the person who's supposed to answer this question.
Well, it's kind of self-introspection. I'm asking myself this question. Look, so we are, again, all of us have a responsibility in this country, we are living in this country to include English bhajans in our center level or regional level or national level, to include X number of English bhajans in a bhajan session. So I guess this should be handled at start or it has been happening earlier. I was speaking to Shitubai earlier. It used to be 50-50, right, Shitubai? And then it has come down, rapidly, if I would say so. But we are in a situation where we are getting these questions. How can we encourage more English bhajans? I can only suggest or request, if we have any national, regional or spiritual coordinators or bhajan coordinators attending this event, to try and ensure that we, as office bearers, try and include English bhajans in all our bhajan sessions, center bhajan sessions, at least 1 or 2 English bhajans. Hopefully that will be a start. Again, personally, I'm from Chennai. Okay, I speak Tamil. If I'm going to put all Tamil bhajans in a bhajan session, nobody's going to chorus. So, but we've got children and young adults who are born and brought up here, whose mother tongue is English, kind of, because they are born and brought up here. So they are more familiar with English bhajans. So we should get them acclimatized to the bhajan sessions with, more English bhajans. But as they gradually grow up, they are getting into listening to Prashanti Mandir bhajans. Sorry, it's not a...
Looks like you're blaming us for singing.
No, they get more attracted to it, So, but going back to the question, it is basically we need to start from the roots again to try and, inculcate in our children. And we can't just blame the children for them not doing it. The children, when they are at a young age, is when they actually listen to us, right? Yes, brother. Yes, this has been communicated from the national level also, but if it is not transformed to regional or central level, then we need to drill this down again in a way that it
I
is.
think the only problem when any dictas come from the top is,
Yes.
then it becomes like, so how many English bhajans do you want us to have? No, two? Why not three? And then now we start getting into negotiations, unnecessary negotiation. Why not 3.5? You know, there is no logic to it. So I think, yeah, every center, I'll just mention two words that Swami would often talk about when it comes to bhajans, and that is samayam and sandarbham. He would always say the time and the circumstance, right? Always look, and I'll give you an interesting story. Brother Ravi, in fact, tells us that, there is this, Tere janam din pe sai, tujhe koti pranam karenge. There is a bhajan, right? So, Brother Ravi had sung this on Swami's birthday, one birthday. And it was a thrilling success. Okay, Swami was nicely putting talam, and means the measure of success was how much talam Swami, how much enjoying, like you saw today during bhajan's time, how beautifully Swami is putting talam. So you know how successful the bhajan is. There are days when Swami will just be sitting, bhajan will be going on. Means he would have gone to attend London bhajans or because he can do that, Unfortunately, we are not lucky enough. Swami, I used to always think, Swami, lucky you are. Bhajans are not good. You can just choose, in his global GPS. Good bhajans are going on here. Let me go attend them. So, so he was, so that's how, so Swami enjoyed that. And so next birthday, okay, Ravi sir thought that, hey, this was the hit of the previous year. So let me redo it. Okay, and so he sang the same bhajan in the same shruti, whatever, right? And this time Swami is giving him stares from the stage. He's like, what happened? Like, the bhajan fell out of, like, no more a hit, no more the top 10. Okay, and then later on, after the birthday function, Swami said, Yentra, pichi pichi pata? Means, what, yeah, what, ra? Why are you singing all mad songs? She's like, what happened, And then Swami said, that birthday, several of the East Godavari, West Godavari village folk had come for birthday. Okay, and we were singing a Hindi bhajan. Tere janam din mein Swami, tujhe koti pranam kaheng. In fact, there's a line, Tere janam din mein Baba, aaye bichde behan bhai. Something like that, bichde behan bhai and all that. So normal people cannot understand, those village folk could not understand. And therefore, Swami was saying samayam and sandarbham. Very important. Look at, who has come for bhajans.
Yes.
The bhajans is not my personal, my agenda over there. I'll sing whatever I feel like singing because I want to sing. Yeah, you can do that at home. But here in a community bhajans, we have to go by what the larger kind of, group will enjoy.
Yes.
So I think the number of bhajans, what kind of bhajans, like for example, once, one more, sorry for dragging this, on Krishna Janmashtami, many years back, one of the brothers had sung, Do din ka jag mein mela, chala chali ka fir khela. That song, right? Kabir Das, very famous song of Kabir Das. Okay, and so Swami heard the song, okay, and Swami said, Gana acha hai, song is good, okay, but this is Janmashtami, on a day when we should celebrate the advent of the Lord, what are you singing? Do din ka jag mein mela, chala chali ka, means like, what is there in this world? It's a useless world, and it's going to stay only for 2 days. You just come in over here, because in that, Kabir Das actually describes that all of us are in this, in the olden day, the chakki, to grind the grinder stone. Yes. Each of us get into the grinder stone, we get crushed, all that, Swami saying, on Janmashtami day, we have to celebrate the advent of the Lord in our lives. That day you are telling, what is the use of this world? You see Swami's sensitivity. So I was thinking that samayam and sandarbham, these are two very important words. Once again, highly open words to interpretation. right? Each one could interpret it in a different way. For example, we avoid singing bhajans like Mujhe darsh dikhao Bhagwan on Swami's birthday, right? Bhajan is nice, but on Swami's birthday, it should be like Bolo Jai Jaikar, or Pranam Svikar, like it was sung this morning, right? So those kind of happy bhajans, more punchy bhajans on Swami's birthday, right? Of course, we will have those occasions where we can sing those, melancholic and kind of devotional songs. So maybe this will give us an idea.
Surely, surely. Thank you. Next question. Has your journey within the Prashanti Mandir Bhajan group influenced your personal spiritual growth? And can you share any particular experience you have had while offering bhajans in the presence of Bhagwan?
It does. But I must give a caveat over here that yes, it does help us with our spiritual, but it also is a source of taking us away from spirituality a lot, singing in front of Swami. And so I'll tell you, I'll very quickly narrate. It's a incident that I have narrated many times. But when I was in my second year MBA, second year postgraduate students are like the senior most students in the university, okay, in Swami's university. And so Swami gives us a lot of responsibilities, and we get a lot of chances with Swami because we are, final year, we were going to pass out. And so that year, like every time, we would be like, any chance, we will be in the first row. Okay, Bhajan boys, we will be in the second year boys will be in the first row. So Swami will look at you and say, now you sing, now you sing. So slowly, you start believing that, the collars go up, okay, and you start believing that, what, that's it. Without me, bhajans can't happen in Kulwantwal. Okay, going as far as possible from spirituality, right? The ego, right? And so I remember that one day I was slotted to sing the 7th bhajan, okay, and after the 6th bhajan, Swami took Aarti, okay, and typically how Swami will take Aarti is he will be having these, the footrest, and so he'll just push the footrest inside. That is the sign for Aarti. He means he won't say, okay, now Aarti, or he'll just push the footrest under the chair, which is the sign for Aarti. So you don't know which is the bhajan after which he's going to get up. So what you have to do is, you have to keep looking at his feet. So you don't know whether you're starting the bhajan or not. Okay? It could come as much as the last word of the ad-lib line.
Correct.
Ad-lib line is the slow line, which we sing at the end. You have to keep looking at the feet. If the feet move, Om Jai Jagai should start. Okay? It's like that. So you have to be that attentive. So I was singing the 7th bhajan. After the 6th bhajan, Swami took Aarti. Not a problem. Next day, I was slotted to sing the 6th bhajan. After 5th bhajan, Swami took Aarti. The following day, I was slotted to sing the 5th bhajan. After 4th bhajan, Swami took Aarti. Now, whenever such a thing happens, we have lots of coordinators in our group who have very strong antennas.
Yes.
Okay, their antennas will be catching all the signals.
Yes.
Okay.
What is this guy up to?
Means there is something wrong. Kuch to gadbad hai. So usually, like we have one sir, I can even tell you his name, Dr. Shailesh Srivastava, one of the most, like our mentor for many of us over decades. So Shailesh sir, he will be seeing all this, what's going on, right? And so I knew that 3 days continuously just before my bhajan, Swami is getting up. Something is wrong. But I know that if I stick around for too long after bhajans, I'm going to get a long half an hour lecture. So I ran away that day. Okay, immediately bhajan got over, I ran away. Okay, next day I was slotted to sing the first bhajan. Ganesh bhajan. So in my mind, as I was like, today where will you run away, Swami? Ganesh bhajan. Bhajans have to start with Ganesh bhajan.
Absolutely.
Right? 3 Omkarams. After that, you can't take Aarti.
You can't.
At least one bhajan has to be there. Okay? And that day, it so happened that we were sitting outside, not in bhajan hall, in where we are sitting currently.
Okay.
In those days, some days we would have bhajans outside, some days would be bhajans inside. 2005, I'm talking about. 2004. Right? So some days, Swami would listen to Vedam, go inside. So that day, bhajans were outside. Vedam is going on, and suddenly Swami decides, he calls warden and says, today we will have some speeches. Okay?
Finished.
And so I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. And so boys are always ready with speeches. So 4 brothers came and gave speeches. So now I'm looking at the time, because now it's time for Arati. 1 hour, 15 minutes each speech. I still had some hope, okay, that there will be some bhajans, because after 1 hour, Swami can just say, okay, now let's have Arati. Okay, and you will not believe what happened. After 4 speeches, Swami said, he called the primary school children and said, today you do bhajans. Okay, and that evening, primary school children sang the bhajans, and for them, they were highly unprepared. Okay, means why? This is the first time in Kulwant Hall's history that somebody else were singing bhajans. Okay, and children, how they sing, no? Raja Vilolanand. They were full Josh. Okay, means they were not the technically best bhajans. Right? I mean...
You're taking advantage, children are not here.
With due respect to children. I mean, they always sound cute in whichever way they sing. But they're not technically the best bhajans, right? Swami couldn't care less. Swami enjoyed half an hour of bhajans. Needless to say, I was fired. Okay, I was told to take a long sabbatical, okay, from bhajans. So Sally sir obviously told me, Ameya, do some soul searching. Means yes, it is a chance for them, but something is wrong with you. Right? And so for the next 40 days, I did not sing a bhajan. Every day I would sit at the back of the bhajan group. And usually when this happens, they will say, don't show your face to Swami. Swami doesn't want to see your face. Okay? It's a horrible thing to hear. So you sit at the back. So I used to sit at the back. And today when I look at it, of course, at those days were highly excruciating pain, not getting a chance to sing. Okay, but today when I look back, those were some of the best days of my life, because every day I would go back to hostel and I would cry and I would practice. And I would cry and I would practice. And I would cry and I would practice. Right? Beautiful, like lovely sadhana. It was just going and crying for Swami, begging for forgiveness, and just keep practicing. After 40 days, sir said, you know what, let's take a chance today and see, whether your stock price is still lower. It has come back to some kind of, right? And so, sir slotted me for the 3rd bhajan. Okay? And Swami comes that day, and Swami calls 6 speakers to speak. Okay, that day 6 speakers. And so much so that I still remember a really hilarious incident, because one of the speakers doesn't even want to speak. Okay, and Swami is like, calls him up and says, Yedo matladu. You just speak for some time, something you say. Swami, voddu Swami. Swami, no, Swami, I'm in front of the Kulwant Hall to speak, Okay, and Swami said, hey, just to go and speak. And I'm like thinking in my mind, the guy doesn't want to speak. Why are you forcing him? I want to sing over here. Right? And that brother, I can still remember, his the shortest speech in the history of Kulwant Hall, I think. He was petrified, not prepared, nothing. He just stood at the podium and said, he was a Vedam boy. Okay, so he just said, Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. This is full, that is full, this full has come from that full. Even though this full has come from that full, this remains full and that remains full. Jai Sai Ram. That was his full speech. Okay, he just explained, the beginning of the Shanti Mantra. Purnamada. He just told this much and said, Jai Sai Ram. Even Swami was surprised. That's all. And so they were like 6 speakers spoke, and I thought, even today, number cut gaya. Even today I'm not going to sing. And then Swami looks at the clock and Swami says, let's have 2 bhajans. Okay, and in my mind I'm thinking, come on. You know that I'm slotted 3rd. Why can't we have 3 bhajans? Why only 2 bhajans? Okay, and so obviously high bandwidth, all bandwidth, I'm broadcasting those prayers to Swami. Full bandwidth, only Swami, sorry, Swami. We are all big zeros. I am a big zero. I think that I am a big singer, right? We are nothing but zeros. If God wants any force on earth, even an ant can sing. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayati girim. Right? Yatkrupatam aham vande paramanandam. If he decides even a dumb person can speak, who do we think we are? We are nothing in front of him. Right? So Swami is zero, Swami is zero, Swami is... This is the thought in my mind. Okay? And 2 bhajans get over. And Swami is obviously, it's like 2 bhajans, right? So even the pujari knows that after 2 bhajans, he has to light the arati. Right? And so 2 bhajans get over. And the pujari lights the arati. And Swami gets up. And Swami says, let's have one more bhajan. Right? And I finished singing the bhajan. Okay, just imagine, I still remember the pujari, he was trying to put out the flame. Because he had already lit the arti. So after that, no arti. Like, he has to otherwise run inside to get extra camphor, So and Swami stood for the whole bhajan. And of course, those were the days when Swami's hip was broken. Right? That day, it makes me very emotional even now, because I feel that in order to teach you, I will take up pain upon myself. But I will tell you the lesson. If you get ego while singing, okay, you will not find a worse person than me. If you want me to teach you something, then make yourself empty. So that was one of my big lessons in bhajan singing, which is, unless it's, of course, am I egoless when I'm singing bhajans? Absolutely no. Right? But always this kind of, I keep reminding myself of this, that you are nothing. We are zeros. One fine day, just like Raja Reddy Garu's mic can be taken away from him, yeah, our voices can be taken away from us.
Yes.
I sang, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
I had that question.
Allahu Akbar. Sorry?
No, I also had the same question to ask. Thank you.
Because I know that day, and especially when I was singing Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar means Allah the Great. My Allah was standing in front of me. Right? So I was like, Allahu Akbar. I'm like saying, Swami, you are great. you resurrected my bhajan career. Otherwise, my career was over that day. If that day I wouldn't have sung, right, I would have had the longest sabbatical in bhajan history. Never again I would have sung.
Thank you.
But yeah, it doesn't matter, right? As we said, how does it matter whether we sing or not? Yeah.
Thank you. We'll have time. Thank you. We'll have time for one more question, I guess. Yeah. Sometimes, related to bhajans again. Sometimes confidence affects our ability to offer bhajans. But can bhajan singing have a positive impact on our confidence, and how?
I think, so there are 2 ways of answering this question. So the first thing is, having God's name on our lips must give us the greatest confidence. That would be the more spiritual way of looking at it. Like the way I think about, bhajan singing is, see, I am somebody, I can personally tell you something which has helped me a lot in bhajan singing is lot of parayanams of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam. It really helps you to know the meanings of the words. And if you know how the origin of the word has come, it is an absolutely mind-blowing experience. I'll tell you, for example, we sing Giridhar Govind Gopal. No, in that, Damodara Janardana. Right? This word Damodara. Do you know the meaning of the word Damodara? Why is he called Damodara? Sorry,
No. You can.
Okay. Damodara.
No, I was afraid that you were asking me the question. Sorry.
So Damodara is a beautiful incident from Bhagavatam. It was the days when Krishna would go and, he will steal butter in others' house. By the way, his own household was the repository of all the butter in Nanda. Nanda was the town chief. And so all the butter would come to his house. So, for the life of her, Yashoda couldn't understand, why are you going to somebody else's house and eating butter? All the butter from their houses are only lying over here. You see the beauty, no? But Krishna did not want that butter. Krishna wanted that Gopika's butter. Because, again, there's a completely different, story that I can. So what she did one day, she decided, and all the Gopikas would come to her house to complain that this fellow is coming and breaking our pots and stealing our butter. Again, the story behind the story was that actually they wanted to find some excuse to come and see Krishna. So they would come to Yashoda's house to complain, this fellow, you bring him outside first. So that way they can see him, no? Yeah. They can see Krishna. See what love, right? So, they would do that. And so Yashoda said, I've had enough of this nonsense from you. And so she decides to tie him to a drum. Okay? And it seems she takes some length of rope. Okay? And she ties him. She says, I will tie you so that you fellow will not run away anywhere. And so she takes a rope and she ties him. And while she puts him, and he, humbly he submits himself to her, saying, okay, mama, whatever you want. And so it seems he ties, the moment she brings the rope together, it is said that that rope falls short of the length of 2 fingers. It is not able to join. So she throws away the rope and she takes a longer rope and she tries to tie him again with that. And that also falls short of the width of 2. And so she takes several longer and longer and longer ropes. Okay. And it falls short by just 2. Okay. And so she says, you fellow, you keep doing these leelas. I can't even tie you to the damn drum. You know what? You only tie yourself. And so Krishna just takes one rope, any which rope, and he ties himself. Okay? Damodara is that incident. Udara means stomach, and Dama means rope. The one who could tie the rope around himself. And there are beautiful interpretations of what is the meaning of these 2 finger, what is it? As long as what Yashoda was telling is, I will tie you. Okay, ahankara and mamakara. These are the 2 fingers which are stopping from tying the Lord. You want to tie the Lord, you have to give up this ahankara and mamakara. And what does she say? You tie yourself. The moment you surrender, he ties himself to you. What a beautiful story, right? That is why his name is Damodara. So when we are singing Damodara, if we are able to replay this whole incident saying that, Swami, I am nobody. Okay, I want to get rid of this ahankara and mamakara so that you tie yourself to me. Okay, I don't want to tie. I am nobody to tie myself to you. Right? So like this, when you start going into the depths, how empowering this is. Is it not something which gives you the tremendous amount of confidence? Like when you sing something like, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, we think it's a simple bhajan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya was Dhruva's mantra. When Dhruva, the little boy Dhruva, 6-year-old, you know the story of that boy? If you don't know, go read Bhagavatam. Right? Narada comes, he says, I want to find God so that I can get a permanent place. How do I find him? Devarshi Narada, the sage Narada tells him, chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So he chants Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So whenever I chant Om Namo Bhagavate, I feel, wow, I am chanting what Dhruva chanted. Right? That means Swami is equating me with Dhruva. It's something which pumps me up like anything. Right? Right? So when we sing Mirabai Bhajan, when we sing anything, it should be supremely empowering, and therefore I feel that gives confidence. The other, possibly the more mundane aspect of singing bhajans and getting confidence is, confidence must come from around you. So your bhajan coordinator, the seniors within the bhajan group, when they come and gently, after the bhajans, gently come and pat. I still remember like when we were growing up as bhajan singers, someone like Ravi Bhaiya, we all, Ravi Kumar, right? Very senior, legendary singer. He will just, after the bhajan, he'll just come and pat you on the back. He'll just say this, it was good. Like Ravi Kumar sir has come and told my bhajans were good. It gives you confidence. So I think, to gently not go overboard, not say, oh, fantastic bhajan, that is also ego boosting. Yes. right? But if the entire bhajan group becomes a place where brothers and sisters are constantly encouraging the others, no, hey, today harmonium playing was very nice, or tabla playing, maybe sometimes it will be overboard. Even that also, I feel we can tell it in a very loving way. Hey, nice tabla, but that kani, Swami would always say, like yesterday, brother was saying, who was, I think, today, I think Ketan brother was saying, all are good boys, but Swami will always put that but. So he will always start with a positive reinforcement. So we can get that positive reinforcement from the bhajan group, from the bhajan coordinators, from the seniors in the bhajan group, from senior devotees. If you like a bhajan, go and gently tell that brother, it connected me with Swami today. Rather than saying you sing very well, your voice is very good, right? Don't give those kind of things, I feel. Just say that bhajan helped me connect with Swami. Because that is the ultimate purpose of bhajans, isn't it?
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. I guess that's the time we have for this Q&A. So we can conclude with this answers.
Yeah. So let us all end with Shanti Mantram.
Yes.
Let us assimilate, understand whatever we have listened. I think the auntie earlier was saying before she introduced, we have the best person to give us answers. The best person to give us answers is our Lord. There's no better person than Him. So let us channelize His energies into our hearts and pay our gratitude to Him. Offer our pranams. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sai Ishwararpanamastu. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Sairam, thanks again for patiently answering the questions.
Amey, and the questions so carefully collated by Brother Satish. Thank you both very, very much. And the enthusiasm to continue was obvious. I was trying to keep the brief I had at what time I had to come and thank, but the enthusiasm continued. And as Sister Arul said this morning, every session that Brother Amey chaired and spoke, we didn't even blink. This is absolutely right. Thank you very, very much, Brother Amey. So the next thing I need to say is about lunch. 2:20, we will meet back for the feedback from the workshops. And I hope we will have a speedy lunch because we've just eaten into our lunch break. But thank you once again. And thank you, Sister, for supporting Brother Amey's journey and being with him throughout. Thank you.